The night unfolded like a secret only the moon and stars could understand. The world outside was quiet, still, wrapped in the hush of midnight, yet within the soft glow of a single room, something deeper stirred, an unspoken language of love, the tender chemistry between two souls drawn together by both fate and desire. He looked at her, not in haste, not in distraction, but with the kind of attention that made her feel as if she was the only being alive. His gaze lingered over her, absorbing every line of her face, every spark in her eyes, every curve of her smile. There was no noise, no interruption, just the thrum of two hearts echoing into the silence, beating in quiet agreement that they belonged to each other. She felt his eyes on her, and a smile curved on her lips, soft, shy, but full of knowing. She leaned closer, not speaking, because words would only dilute the purity of that moment. Her hand brushed his, gently, as if testing the electricity between them. The spark was undeniable, their fingers slowly intertwined, and in that simple touch, a universe of emotions spilled into the air: trust, love, passion, and the anticipation of closeness. The air grew warmer as their silence deepened. He lifted her hand slowly to his lips, kissing it with a tenderness that spoke volumes. She closed her eyes at the sensation, her breath catching, not from surprise, but from the sweetness of feeling so deeply cherished. He did not rush. Every motion was deliberate, every glance a promise that he was fully there with her, body and soul. The room seemed to shrink as they drew closer. The faint glow of the lamp painted their faces in golden hues, their shadows dancing softly against the walls. She shifted nearer, her head tilting slightly, inviting the nearness she longed for. And then, with a gentleness that belied the fire in his heart, he leaned in and kissed her lips. It was not hurried, not demanding, just soft, slow, deliberate. A kiss that spoke of love, devotion, and longing all at once. She melted into it, her body instinctively leaning against his, her arms wrapping around his shoulders. The kiss deepened, still unhurried, like waves rolling onto a shore, each one stronger, more consuming than the last. Their breaths mingled, the air thick with warmth and affection. He pulled her closer, his arms circling her waist, and she responded by resting against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her chest. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only this, two bodies drawn together by an invisible thread, two hearts locked in perfect rhythm. Time lost its meaning as their closeness grew. Every kiss, every brush of his lips against hers, every caress of his hands across her back whispered stories of love deeper than words could ever contain. She felt cherished, seen, adored, like she was the center of his universe. And he felt whole, as though in her arms, he had finally found the missing part of his soul. Their chemistry was undeniable. It wasn't only the softness of her touch or the warmth of his embrace, it was the way their souls seemed to recognize each other, the way their bodies responded naturally, instinctively, as if they had been created only for this closeness. As the night carried on, their touches grew more tender, their kisses more passionate. She buried her face against his neck, inhaling the scent of him, feeling both safe and alive in his arms. He whispered her name, not as a word, but as a song, his voice low and full of longing. The sound made her heart tremble, and she clung to him, not wanting the moment to end. The moon outside shifted higher in the sky, casting silver light through the window, framing their closeness in ethereal beauty. Their bodies pressed closer, their breaths faster, yet, still, everything felt unhurried, patient, deliberate, like a love story that did not need to prove itself, only to live itself. The quiet hum of the night wrapped around them like a gentle melody, but inside the room, a stronger rhythm pulsed, the rhythm of hearts that refused to let go. Every second drew them deeper into a world that belonged only to the two of them, where time was measured not by hours but by the intensity of their closeness. Her head rested lightly against his chest, and she could feel the steady beat of his heart beneath her cheek. That rhythm soothed her, reassured her, made her feel that she was exactly where she was meant to be. His arms encircled her, strong and steady, holding her as if she was the most precious thing he had ever known. There was safety in his embrace, but more than that, there was passion waiting, simmering just beneath the surface. He kissed the top of her head, slowly, reverently, as though each touch was a prayer. She closed her eyes, sinking into him, her hands brushing against his shoulders, then trailing down his arms. The texture of his skin beneath her fingertips made her shiver, not from cold, but from the rush of closeness, the awakening of something deeper. The kisses grew more frequent, more insistent. He lifted her face gently, brushing his thumb along her jaw before leaning down to claim her lips again. This time, the kiss was deeper, more consuming, carrying with it the weight of longing that had been building between them. She responded eagerly, her lips parting, her body pressing closer, her soul opening itself completely to him. The air thickened around them, charged with a sweetness that was both tender and fiery. Their hands began to wander, no longer content with stillness. His fingers traced the curve of her back, slowly, deliberately, making her arch into his touch. Her hands framed his face for a moment, before sliding down to his chest, feeling the warmth beneath the thin fabric of his shirt. Every touch was a conversation, every caress a vow unspoken. They pulled apart only to breathe, but even then, their foreheads stayed pressed together, their breaths mingling, their eyes locked in a gaze that said everything they could not put into words. Love, desire, belonging, trust, it was all there, shining between them. He kissed her again, softer now, trailing his lips from her mouth to her cheek, down to her neck, leaving a path of warmth that made her shiver with delight. She tilted her head back slightly, surrendering to the gentleness of his affection, her fingers tightening around him as though anchoring herself in the storm of emotion. Her laughter, soft, breathless, escaped between their kisses, and he smiled against her skin. That sound, that joy, fueled his passion even more. He held her closer, lifting her slightly as if he wanted her never to drift away, as if the strength of his embrace alone could keep her forever in his arms. The night became a canvas, and their love painted every corner of it. Each kiss deepened into another, each embrace pulled them closer until there was no space left between their bodies. The warmth of his touch lingered on her skin, sparking shivers of pleasure that spread like ripples across still water. And every time she touched him, he felt a surge of electricity, an undeniable truth that no one else had ever made him feel so alive. The room glowed with more than moonlight, it glowed with the intensity of two souls fully awake in each other's presence. They did not rush, they did not speak. Their love unfolded naturally, like petals opening beneath the dawn, slow but unstoppable. As minutes turned into hours, their intimacy grew richer, their passion stronger. Their bodies molded together in a dance as old as time, yet as new as the very first spark between them. The chemistry was undeniable, powerful, unrelenting, but always wrapped in tenderness. In her embrace, he felt the world fade away. In his arms, she felt the weight of forever. They were not just touching. They were connecting in ways that transcended the physical, weaving threads of trust, love, and devotion that would never unravel. The night outside remained silent, but inside, a story was being written, a story of passion, of closeness, of love that needed no witnesses. Every heartbeat, every sigh, every whispered kiss was a chapter, and together they were authoring a tale that would live far beyond the hours of this night. The night stretched endlessly, as if the universe itself conspired to hold back the dawn, giving them more time to be wrapped in each other's warmth. Every breath, every sigh, every heartbeat carried them deeper into a world that belonged only to the two of them. Her hands lingered against his skin, not out of uncertainty, but out of reverence, memorizing him, holding on to the way he felt beneath her touch. And in return, his fingers traced her with the same devotion, not rushing, not claiming, but cherishing. Each touch was an affirmation, each caress a declaration that this closeness was not fleeting, but eternal. Their lips found each other again and again, sometimes urgently, sometimes softly, like waves crashing and retreating, always returning to the shore. The fire between them grew, yet it never consumed. It warmed, it illuminated, it revealed the deepest corners of their hearts. Time blurred, minutes disappeared into hours, but they never noticed. Every moment carried them higher into passion, and deeper into tenderness. He kissed her as though every kiss might be the last, while she held him as though she could anchor him to her forever. And in that balance, they discovered something greater than desire, they discovered surrender. The night became a cocoon, wrapping them in intimacy, shutting out the rest of the world. Their closeness was not only of the body but of the soul. He breathed her name like a prayer, and she answered with a gaze that told him everything. He was her world, her shelter, her forever. As the hours passed, the storm of passion eased into quiet stillness. The intensity did not fade, but softened into something even more profound, the serenity of being completely known and completely loved. They lay together, bodies entwined, hearts steady, their breaths sinking into a single rhythm. The moonlight washed over them, silver and soft, as if blessing their love. His arm remained draped around her, protective, strong, unwilling to let her slip away. Her head rested on his chest, her hand lightly against his heart, feeling its steady beat as proof of his presence, his devotion, his life intertwined with hers. There were no more words left to say, because none were needed. The silence between them spoke louder than speech, the silence of trust, of unity, of a love so deep it could survive anything. Slowly, the first whispers of dawn touched the sky. The dark blue of night softened into shades of violet, then pink, as the world outside awoke from its slumber. Birds began their songs, distant and faint, but within the room, time seemed unwilling to move forward. She stirred, lifting her eyes to meet his. What she saw there made her smile. The same fire, the same tenderness, the same unwavering promise that had carried them through the night. He brushed a strand of hair from her face and pressed a kiss against her forehead, sealing not only the night, but the bond they had strengthened within it. In the quiet glow of morning, they realized the truth of what they had shared. It was more than a night of passion. It was a night of connection, of belonging, of two souls weaving themselves together into a single tapestry of love. They held each other as dawn spilled across the horizon, their love no longer a secret of the night, but a truth that would walk with them into every day that followed. The night had given them a story etched into memory, sealed with kisses, written with tenderness. And though the night ended, their love did not. It remained, burning steady, burning eternal, a flame that even the rising sun could not dim. For they had discovered that love was not just in the passion of the night, but in the stillness of the morning, in the promise of tomorrow, in the forever that stretched beyond time.